වීඩියෝ ඇමතුම්ද සමග මැසෙන්ජර් සේවාවන් රැසකට සහ POTV Go සඳහා නොමිලේ ඩේටා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජි රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, first steps. Government announces first step in exit strategy as curfew remains in high-risk zones until the 4th of May. Risky times. 20 new cases reported as active cases rise to 310 and recoveries to 118. In with the new. Chief prelates tell President people want new parliament and not the old one. Unfair assessment. Government strikes back at Fitch ratings for prejudiced ratings downgrade. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 25th of April, 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
හැටනමයයි අනුහතට SMS කර රුපියල් මිලියන 3ක මුල්තැන්ගේ උපකරණ දිනාගෙන අවුරුද්දෙම කුස්සිය ටයිම් සේව් කරගන්න.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Mohammed Kekanayaka. Let's start with your local stories. Now the curfew in the districts of Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthara and Puttlam is extended until the 4th of May. As per the rest of the 21 districts, a window of free movement will be given from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. throughout next week, starting from Monday. The revision was announced today by the government, accompanied by various other stipulations to be adhered to in the battle against COVID-19. It also introduced a roster to be observed when leaving home. In today's update on the curfew, the President's Media Division said that the curfew in effect in the districts of Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthara and Puttlam will continue until 5 a.m. on Monday the 4th of May. In the other 21 districts, the curfew will be lifted at 5 a.m. on Monday the 27th of April and reimposed at 8 p.m. on the same day, and that pattern will continue on a daily basis until Friday the 1st of May. The PMD also said that the curfew will be relaxed, enabling state and private institutions to open and conduct operations from the 4th of May in the districts of Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthara and Puttlam. Accordingly, state departments, corporations and boards as well as private sector factories, construction firms, other places of employment and retail outlets trading fish and vegetables will be permitted to open. The time for private sector institutions to open is set at 10 a.m, while both state and private sector heads of institutions are required to plan their relevant office operations this week to be commenced from the 4th of May. The PMD added that only 1/3 of the staff should be deployed for duty at state institutions, and relevant institution heads should ensure that only the most essential staff should be deployed for duty, irrespective of the importance of the service provided. As for those who do not report for work at state institutions, they are ordered to work from home, while institutional heads can determine which cadre reports to work. Meanwhile, SLTB services and railway services will be limited for those who travel for employment. What's more, people must only leave the houses to obtain essential goods such as food and medicine, and for that purpose, they must choose the nearest outlet reachable on foot. In the meantime, people will be allowed to leave home on certain days, even for essential matters, based on the last digit on their national identity cards. As such, those with numbers 1 or 2 as the last digit of their ID cards can leave home on Mondays. On Tuesdays, those with numbers 3 or 4 as the last digits on their ID cards will be allowed to leave home. Likewise, on Wednesdays, people with numbers 5 and 6 as the last digits of their ID cards will be permitted to leave home. As the pattern goes, on Thursdays, numbers 7 and 8 will be given the privilege of leaving home, and on Fridays, those with numbers 9 or 0 as the last digit of their ID cards will be allowed to leave their residences. Meanwhile, adherence to health recommendations including decontamination, wearing of face masks and social distancing must be observed to the letter. In addition, all inter-district travel is completely prohibited except for those travelling for employment purposes and essential services. Entry and exit from any area designated as an isolated zone is also prohibited. All educational institutions are also ordered to remain closed until further notice, while functions, pilgrimages and leisure trips are also suspended until further notice. Given the difficulty of the situation, the government says that the best form of help the people can extend at this time in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic is to comprehend the dangers of the pandemic and stay home adhering to the health protocols.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Meanwhile, police once again moved to remind people the risks of violating the curfew and failing to adhere to safety protocols put in place by the government. They cautioned that anyone found guilty of such an offence might even face a 6-month prison sentence. There were, however, several instances today where government safety protocols were disregarded.
The entire country is currently under curfew and will be throughout the weekend, with only essential service providers having permission to move about. As it has been done in the past few weeks, police continue to crack down on curfew violators as well as those who do not adhere to safety protocols put in place by the government. The Negombo fish market, meanwhile, was under orders to close. However, it remained open today. What's more, it did not appear that those engaged in its operations gave much attention to safety protocols.
Go blouse. Huh? Blouse डालना blouse. Blouse फेंको. हाँ? Blouse फेंको. आइए को blouse से आगे. Blouse डालने आगे काउंट मासी तरह डालने पे blouse डालने क्या काउंट किए ना?
Social distancing was also something all present at the market seemed to have ignored. In the meantime, officers of the Mirihana police advised several mobile traders in the area of Panipitia not to do business while being parked along the main road. They said that such practices will lead to people gathering in great numbers and as such advised mobile traders to do business along byroads. Elsewhere in Mathura, a person who had been travelling from Colombo to Mathura using a fake doctor's pass was arrested at a house in the area of Malimbada. The suspect had placed a fake pass and a stethoscope on display in the car in order to pass through police roadblocks without hassle. Steps, however, were taken by authorities to self-quarantine 5 people from 2 houses which the suspect had visited in the area. In another development, an individual who had used an essential services pass obtained for a small lorry for another vehicle was arrested by the Pugala police. The suspect had switched vehicle registration plates and police arrested him at his residence in Mandavala upon a tip-off. Since the curfew was first imposed on the 20th of March, 37,572 persons have been arrested island-wide pertaining to curfew violations, with 9,650 vehicles also being seized.
මේ සතියන්තය විශේෂයෙන්ම දිවයින පුරාම ඇදිරි නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. කිසිම හේතුවක් නිසා මේ සතියන්තය තුළ දිස්ත්‍රික් මායිම් හරහා යාමට අවස්ථාව ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. විශේෂයෙන්ම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවාවලට හැරෙන්නට. ඒ නිසා අපිට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ නිවසටම වෙලා ඉන්න කියන කාරණේ තමයි ඒ අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට ඇදිරි නීති ලිහිල් කිරීම ගැන දැනුම් දෙයි. ඒ දැනුම් දුන්නත් කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ විදිය ඔබ දන්නවා. දැන් පුරුදු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ ආකාරයට කටයුතු කරන්න අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. අපි හිතමු යම්කිසි ත්‍රිරෝද රථයක 4 දෙනෙක් යනවා. නැත්නම් බස් රථයක 50%ක් ඒ මගින් ආසන සංඛ්‍යාවෙන් ගෙනියන්න තියෙන එක ඊට වඩා වැඩිපුර ගෙන යනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් යම් වෙළඳසැලක් තුල සමාජ දුරස්ථභාවය තියාගන්න නැතුව එකිනෙකට කට්ටිය තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මේ හැම අවස්ථාවකදීම දෙපැත්තකටම නීතිය මගින් කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. වෙළඳසැලක නම් එහි අයිතිකරු කළමනාකරු බස් රථයක නම් රියදුරා කොන්දොස්තර අනෙක් පැත්තෙන් ඒ ආකාරයට කටයුතු කරන මහ ජනතාවට අර විශේෂ බලය පැවරීම අනුව අපිට නිරෝධායන රෙගුලාසියකට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒ අය අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒ පනත තියෙන ප්‍රතිපාදන අනුව ඒ අනුව උන්ට විරුද්ධව නඩු පැවරීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. එවැනි නඩුවකට යම් ආකාරයකින් වරදකරුණොත් කෙනෙක් අධිකරණයක් මගින් මාස 6ක හිරදඬුවමක් පවා ලබා දීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා.
As usual, musical performances were conducted by the police and dry forces with the aim of boosting the morale of the people in apartment complexes, especially in Colombo. Sri Lanka's Muslim community, meanwhile, commenced fasting for the month of Ramadan today, which is the most venerated month in the Islamic calendar. Taking the ongoing situation in the country, services were not held at mosques.
නිෂ්පාදිත දිනය කවදත් අලුත් වටවලතේ අරගන්න.
වටවලතේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තේ එක.
As COVID-19 became a global pandemic, calls from Sri Lankans abroad intensified to be repatriated. Sri Lanka was one of the first countries to even send a flight to Wuhan during the early stages of the outbreak. Now, with the country having a firm grasp on what to expect, the government has also launched repatriation operations and under its latest stage flew 166 students from India back to Sri Lanka today. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan Airlines, the country's national carrier, today announced an extension to its temporary suspension to its flights.
Following travel restrictions imposed on the global airline network due to the coronavirus pandemic, Sri Lankan Airlines has decided to extend the temporary suspension of its flights until the 15th of May. A statement issued by the carrier said that cargo services will continue in order to support the government in providing essential medicines, medical equipment and essential services smoothly. It, however, added that Sri Lankan Airlines will operate special passenger flights as and when required. In the meantime, another batch of Sri Lankan students who were stranded overseas amid the COVID-19 pandemic were returned to the island today. 166 students were flown back from India with the intervention of the government. The group of students were sent to the facilities in Punani, Waikale and Oya Madua for the mandatory 14-day quarantine process. In the meantime, the Sri Lanka Transport Board has decided to provide transportation to the public and private sector employees of the Colombo district under a formal methodology once the curfew is lifted. Public and private sector organizations that wish to start services can register for the service by sending an email with information about the number of employees expected to travel on each route, including the coordinating officer of the agency. Accordingly, the Sri Lanka Transport Board has requested to send an email to dgmoperations@sltb.lk with relevant information pertaining to the 28th of this month. In a separate development, wholesale trade at the Paligoda Central Fish Market resumed today. Although considerable fish stocks were seen at the market, our correspondent said that there had been a marked decline in the wholesale traders. During the hours of trade, police also warned some traders who did not adhere to health protocols set out by the government. In the meantime, the management of the Narayanpeta Economic Centre has decided to close the centre tomorrow in order to disinfect the premises. The Economic Centre will reopen at 6 a.m. on Monday the 27th. With the government's 5,000 rupee relief allowance provision programme being worked off successfully in most parts of the country, people in Maragama East protested near the Grama Nidadari office, alleging that the fault in the conduct of some officials kept them from receiving the allowance. In the meantime, the Director General of the Department of Samruddhi Development stated that payment of the allowance will proceed after Monday, following consideration of appeals submitted by those who have not received the allowance.
Now, Foreign Secretary Ravinath Arisinghe has said that so far repatriations have been carried out by the government, identifying the most vulnerable categories of overseas Sri Lankans in face of the limited availability of quarantine facilities in the country. A statement from the Ministry of Foreign Relations quotes Arisinghe as saying that through the Contact Sri Lanka web portal and other means to date, over 27,000 overseas Sri Lankans have expressed their wish to return. This number includes over 17,000 migrant workers and dependents, 6,000 students and about 3,000 short-term visa holders and tourists. Secretary Arisinghe has said the government's focus in the present wave of repatriation was on students and those government training in South Asia, considering the particular vulnerability they faced from a medical perspective. He said the specific situation in Kuwait, where an amnesty has been declared for over 19,000 workers who are out of status, has been a key focus of the ministry, and that the governments of Sri Lanka and Kuwait are in discussion to extend the amnesty period, and the modalities of implementation were the focus of a discussion held this week by the Foreign Minister and the Kuwaiti ambassador in Sri Lanka. Moving on with other stories, the Hambantota International Port is calling on importers to clear their vehicles currently at the port without delay, in line with the government directive which deems that the port should remain clear for essential services. HIP had previously informed all stakeholders in a letter that demurrage costs incurred from the 16th March to the 30th April, that is, will be waived. COO of the Hambantota International Port Group, Tissa Wickramasinghe, is quoted in a communique saying that up to date, only around 1,000 vehicles out of approximately 6,500 have been cleared so far. He added, quote, "For us to expedite clearance, we need the full cooperation of importers. As a port, we run a 24-hour operation and we hope we will be able to clear the vehicles by the end of this month. The authorities have ensured that all relevant government departments are operational to facilitate the clearance," unquote. Wickremesinghe stresses that those who do not help expedite the clearing process will stand to lose, since the demurrage-free period is strictly up to the 30th of April 2020 and will not be extended under any circumstance. The communique goes on to say that directives from the police prevent wharf clerks arriving at the port to clear vehicles from parking their vehicles or making sudden stops between Mirijavila and the HIP entrance due to health and safety measures taken to protect communities living close to the port. It requires visitors to drive directly into the port, and the same rules apply on their return after the clearance. They need to drive back without making unscheduled stops. Occupants of these vehicles are strictly prohibited from entering any shops, eatery or other establishment in proximity to the temple area outside the port gate. HIP notes that its standard operational procedure requires all individuals arriving at the port to wear face masks and gloves, and that their vehicles must be parked adjacent to the entrance to the port's admin building. Now, in other local stories, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met the chief prelates of the three main Buddhist sects last evening, where measures taken by the government to combat the COVID-19 outbreak and the revival of the economy were discussed. At the briefing, the prelates strongly concurred with the president's opinion on the reconvening of the old parliament and added that the current need of the people is a new parliament and not the old one. Administrator of the Sunetra Devi Perivana, Venerable Professor Madagoda Abhethisatera, said that the government has been placed in a predicament due to 20th June being declared as the new date for the elections, which incidentally falls long after the 3-month deadline of 2nd June for the convening of the new parliament. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met with members of Mahasangha of the three main Buddhist sects yesterday, where he briefed them on the measures taken by the government to control the spread of COVID-19 virus. Included in the briefing were quarantine processes, public relief measures and other measures aimed at reviving the national economy. The President reiterated that the support rendered by every segment of the society, including the health and security sectors, as well as the entire state mechanism in the face of current challenges, is enormous. The President added that he looks forward to meeting with the Mahasangha on every third Friday of each month for a similar briefing and expected the blessings and guidance of the clergy in these endeavours. Deputy Chief Prelate of the Malwatha chapter, Venerable Nyangoda Vijitasiritera, said that the responsibility for the current financial crisis being experienced by the country remains with the previous government. In addition, Chief Prelate of the Amarapura Sri Dharmarakshita chapter, Venerable Tirukunamalai Anandathera, said that it was evident that a new vision was being implemented in the country through the initiatives of the President. Further, Venerable Professor Induragare Dhammaratana Thera presented a set of proposals comprising 12 points to secure the motherland. Meanwhile, Venerable Dr. Divyagala Yasasi Thera and Venerable Professor Tibulle Silakkanada Thera pointed out the importance of creating an environment to celebrate the Vesak festival using electronic media in order to keep the public in their homes in the face of the crisis. Deputy Chief Prelate of the Askiriya chapter, Venerable Vendaruwe Upalithera, said that the steps taken by the President to feed the hungry, including mendicants, are commendable. The prelates also concurred with the President's views on the reconvening of the old Parliament, which they agreed would jeopardize the country's stability. In the meantime, Administrator of the Sunetra Devi Pirivena, Venerable Professor Madagoda Abhethisatera, said that the government has been placed in a predicament due to the 20th June being declared as new date for the holding of elections, which incidentally is long after the 3-month deadline of 2nd of June for the convening of the new Parliament.
යම් අය අධිකරණයට ගිහිල්ලා නීතිය භාවිතා කරන ව්‍යවස්ථාවකට පැටහෙනි නියෝගයක් ලබා ගැනීමේ බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා. ජුනි 2 වෙනකොට අලුත් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් විය යුතුව තිබුණා. එතකොට ජුනි 2කට කලින් අලුත් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් නොකරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන ආකාරයට ජුනි 20 වෙනිදාට ඡන්දය කළදාලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඔබතුමාට ජුනි 20ට කලින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් කරන්නේ කොහොමද? තෝරා ගන්නා පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කලින් රැස් කරන්නේ කොහොමද? එතකොට මෙන්න මේ උපතෝ කොටිකේට රට හිර කරලා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් කරනවා ඇරෙන්න මේ තිබුණු පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නම් මොන හේතුවක් නිසාවත් රැස් කරන්න එපා කියලා කියන්නේ.
While stressing the need for a strong government to fulfill the people's aspirations, the president also stated that there was no constitutional or legal basis for him to reconvene a dissolved parliament, but only powers to convene a newly elected one.
ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම නාම යෝජනා බාරගත්තයින් පස්සේ ස්වාධීන මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාව මැතිවරණය ඒ තිබෙන දවස දිනයක් නියම කරන්නේ නැතුව කල් දැම්ම. 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනයට පස්සේ මේ ස්වාධීන මැතිවරණ කොමිෂන් සභාවට විශාල බලතල තිබෙනවා. ඒ අයගේ වගකීම තමයි මේ මැතිවරණය පැවැත්වීම. ඒ අය මං හිතන්නේ වැරදීමක් කළා මැතිවරණය දිනයක් නැතිව කල් තැබීමේ අවස්ථාවේදී ගලේකම්තුමාට එවපු ලිපියක ඒ අය දැනුම් දීලා තිබුණා මට ශේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ ගෙන් අහන්න කියලා. දැන් මම ලේකම්තුමාට කිව්වා ඒකට පිළිතුරු දෙන්න කියලා. එහෙම අහන්න කිසිම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ පැහැදිලිවම තියෙනවා කරන්න ඕන දේවල්. එක්කම මම කිව්වා ඔයා අය වැරද්දක් කළා තියෙනවා දින 9ක් නැවතුව කල් දාවා කියලා. දැන් මං හිතන්නේ ඒක ඒගොල්ලෝ තීරුම් අරගෙන නැවත රැස් වෙලා දිනයක් නියම කරා. අර මම නියම කර ජූනි 2ට වඩා එහා ජූනි 20 දක්වා ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ කියනවා අභිනව පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්න ඕන මාස 3කට කලින්. මේ මාස 3 එන්නේ ජූනි 2 වෙනිදා. එතකොට දැන් මේ අය නියම කරේ ජූනි 20 වෙනිදා. මම ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුව නීත්‍යානුකූලව ගත යුතු පියවර සෑම දෙයක්ම අරගෙන තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මට පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ නව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් පත් වෙලා තිබුණොත් විතරයි. පරණ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවක් කැඳවීම පිළිබඳව කිසිම නීත්‍යානුකූල භාවයක් ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ මට නැහැ. මට බෑ කිසිම අවස්ථාවක පරණ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කැඳවන්න.
We will see you again after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, we just received news that Sri Lanka's number of COVID-19 patients have increased by 9, making the overall total 449. Meanwhile, during the day, 20 new cases were detected, with most of the cases being Navy personnel from the Valisara Gamunu Navy camp. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has ordered the health services to extend its fullest capacity to the increasing of PCR testing in the country in order to properly complement its quarantine and contain program.
20 new cases were reported in the country today, bringing the number of active cases to 310, with the total cases handled currently standing at 440. Recoveries were reported at 118 after 7 patients recovered and were discharged today. Meanwhile, 5 of the latest COVID-19 patients reported were personnel of the Valisara Gamunu Navy camp who travelled home on leave. The patients were residents of Hidillakanda in Ratnapura, Udapolo in Polgahawela, Keeniyapolo in Kurunegala, Pahala Ratkinda in Girandurukote and Atabodivawa in Damulla. The sailor from Ratnapura arrived home on the 22nd of this month. After being diagnosed with the virus, steps were taken to quarantine members of his family and residents of 11 houses in the vicinity. After it was revealed that the sailor had gotten off at a checkpoint near the Saman Devalaya, the area was disinfected by health authorities today. It was also revealed that the sailor had visited 2 phone repair shops in Tangol. CCTV footage showed him waiting at one shop for more than 1 hour. Meanwhile, family members of the sailor from the Alawa area were placed under self-quarantine today. Further, the sailor from Girandurukote had reportedly spent an hour in Mayangana town. 2 sailors from a total of 8 who were subjected to PCR tests in the Kalutara area tested positive for the virus. In another development, the driver of the lorry that transported the Lankapura patient had reportedly returned to his residence after undergoing the PCR test yesterday. Following a tip-off by residents of the area, health officials took steps to transport him to a quarantine centre in the Katukeliava area. Meanwhile, an expectant mother admitted to the Dizoisa Maternity Hospital yesterday with pregnancy complications was found to be infected with the virus. The patient had been admitted due to having noticed a lack of fetal movement. Tests carried out after this confirmed that she was COVID-19 positive.
එහිදී මේ ගැබ අත වශයෙන්ම මේක අපි සලකන්නේ මලදරු උපතක් ලෙස මේ රෝහලට ඇතුළත් වෙනකොටත් ගැබ මිය ගොස් තියෙනවා. ඒකම කාරණාවක් තියෙනවා විවිධ අය මේ පිළිබඳ ප්‍රශ්න කරනවා මේ මවගෙන් දරුවාට මේ රෝගේ යා හැකිද? එතකොට ඒ ගැබ මිය ගියේ ඒ නිසාද? මෙහෙමයි මේවා පිළිබඳව 100%ක් නිශ්චිත කරුණු අපිට කිව නොහැකි වුණත් මේ දක්වා මේ මවගෙන් ගැබට මේ විස බීජ යනවා කියන එක මේ දක්වා තහවුරු වීමක්
During admission, the patient had provided her address as Imamul Arus Mawata in Maradana. However, investigations had revealed that the patient had only resided at the Maradana address prior to January 21st and had been residing at an address in Meetoramulla at the time of her admission. With the patient having travelled to the hospital with her husband in a three-wheeler, the driver of the three-wheeler and his family have been placed in quarantine. Health authorities said that her husband had previously been admitted to the IDH hospital before being discharged.
මේක ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම ඉතාම කනගාටුදායක සහ වැරදි ක්‍රියාවක්. තමන් ජීවත් වන ප්‍රදේශයේ ලිපිනය ලබා දීම ඒ අයට මෙන්ම රෝගීන්ට මෙන්ම අනිත් සියලු දෙනාටම සහ සමස්ත ජනතාවට කරන සේවාවක් වෙනවා. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම එසේ ලිපිනය නිවැරදිව ලබා නොදීම ඔවුන්ගේම ඒ රෝග තත්වයට ප්‍රතිකාර කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය කරන දැනුම ඒ කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයට ලබා ගැනීමේ අපහසුතාවය වීම නිසා සමහර ලාවට ඒ පුද්ගලයාටම කරන සේවාවට එය අහිතකර ලෙස බලපානවා. ඒ නිසා කරුණාකරලා සියලු දෙනාම තමන්ගේ නිවැරදි තොරතුරු ලබා දීම තාම වැදගත් බව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නට ඕනේ.
Meanwhile, the family of a COVID-19 positive sailor from the Varisara Navy base residing in the Savanagala area have been admitted to the Monragala General Hospital to undergo PCR tests. Meanwhile, among the COVID-19 cases reported yesterday was a public health inspector from the Markula area. The PHI was attached to the number 4 area of the MOH office at Naraympeta Kirula Road, which comes under the Colombo Municipal Council. He was part of a team that was engaged in testing foreign arrivals, and health officials believe that this was how he was exposed to the virus.
ඔහු මේ වන විට IDH රෝහලේ නතර කළා ප්‍රතිකාර ලබා දීම සිදු කරනු ලබනවා. මෙම හේතුව නිසා නගරීය කොළඹ සෞඛ්‍ය වෛද්‍ය නිලධාරී කාර්යාලයේ වෛද්‍යතුමාත් ඒ වගේම මහ ජන සෞඛ්‍ය පරීක්ෂක මහතුන් 5 දෙනා ඒ වගේම අනිකුත් කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ සුළු සේවක මහතුන් රියදුරුන් මේ සියලු දෙනාම නිරෝධායන මධ්‍යස්ථාන කරා යොමු කිරීමට කටයුතු කළා තියෙනවා.
Meanwhile, one more patient was detected from the Bandaranaike Mawatha hotspot in the Keselwatta area, this time a 12-year-old child. The patient has already been admitted to the IDH hospital. In the meantime, 160 individuals from the Bandaranaike Mawatha area have been subjected to PCR tests today.
අද දින විට කොළඹ වණ්ඩාරනායක ප්‍රදේශයෙන් රෝගීන් 88ක් වාර්තා වී තිබෙනවා. මෙම 88 වාර්තා වීමට පහුගිය 15 වෙනිදා සිට මේ දක්වා පරීක්ෂණ 450කට අධික ප්‍රමාණයක් අපි සිදු කර තිබෙනවා. අද දිනේදීත් PCR පරීක්ෂණ 160ක් කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙ තිබෙනවා. එය සඳහා ප්‍රසිද්ධ සුපිරිවැල්ලේ සංකේන්ද්‍රික සේවකයන් 30 දෙනෙකුද අයත් වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the 33-year-old fish trader from Piliandala, who had been infected with the COVID-19 virus, has returned to his home today. Even though he had been admitted to the Kotlawala Defence Medical Facility initially, he had been transferred to the IDH hospital on the 20th of this month. However, he had only remained at the hospital for 5 days.
ඇත්තටම ඔහු රෝගාතුර වෙලා හිටියේ එක දිනයි. ඒ දිනම රෝහල්ගත වුණා. ඒ රෝහල්ගත වෙච්ච පළමු පරීක්ෂණයෙන් තහවුරු වුණා COVID-19 වෛරසය ශරීරගත වෙලා තියලා. ඉන් අනතුරුව පසුව ඔහු IDH රෝහලට මාරු කරලා යවලා IDH රෝහලේ කරන ලද පරීක්ෂණ වලින් වෛරසය ශරීරගත වී නොමැති බව තහවුරු වුණා. ඒ වගේම විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍යවරුන්ගේ මතය වන්නේ ඉතාමත් කෙටි කාලයක් තුල වුණත් මේ වෛරසය ශරීරයේ තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ රෝගය හඳුනා ගන්න අවස්ථාවේදී වෛරස් ලෝඩ් එක අඩුවෙන් තිබිච්ච නිසා වාසනාවට එම රෝගියාගෙන් වෙනත් රෝගීන්ට මේ සම්ප්‍රේෂණ වීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ප්‍රදේශීය ජනතාවට දෙන්න ඕන පණිවිඩය තමයි බිය යුතු කාරණාවක් නැහැ කියන කාරණාව. නමුත් තවදුරටත් දින 14ක නිරෝධායනයට යටත්ව අපි බොහොම විමසිල්ලෙන් ඉන්නවා.
Meanwhile, with rumors circulating on social media regarding the transmission of the virus from animals to humans, infectious disease specialists today said that the probability of animal to human transmission is very small.
We will see you again after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the government has hit back at Fitch Ratings for revising the country's ratings to B- from B. In its reply, the government called the move illogical and ill-timed and categorically disagreed with the assessment of risks for Sri Lanka. In responding to Fitch Ratings' move to downgrade Sri Lanka's ratings to B- from B, that the assessment displays a rush to judgment and exposes a prejudicial nature at a time when the whole world is grappling with a global health crisis. The statement released by the Ministry of Finance points out that Fitch Ratings acted in a similar fashion towards the latter part of 2018, despite authorities' insistence that the strength of institutions in Sri Lanka warrants holistic assessment before rushing to initiate a rating action. The statement added, quote, "In contrast to the experience of many other countries, the government would like to stress that in Sri Lanka, a number of proactive measures are being implemented from multiple spheres and have already helped contain the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak to a great extent. This would allow further easing of containment measures by end of the second quarter, enabling domestic economic activity to pick up in the second half of 2020, unquote. It says that Fitch Ratings grossly overstates the fiscal deficit in 2020 and the resultant impact of government debt by ignoring the prudent measures taken by the government to curtail expenditure and the impact of the delayed government budget towards the second half of 2020, thereby limiting the fiscal space for additional expenditure for this year. Further, Fitch Ratings assessment completely ignores the non-acceleration of financing costs for government financing, highlighting that in contrast, financing costs from both domestic and external sources have seen a marked reduction so far during 2020. The government also noted proactive measures taken in mobilizing funds from multiple sources of market-based and official sources of financing to effectively improve terms and conditions of financing. The statement added that together with the largely muted external pressures as reflected in a relatively strong external buffers, the robust domestic financial system, which maintains above-average capital and liquidity buffers, would help to withstand any near-term shocks that may arise from the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization says governments should not issue so-called immunity passports or risk-free certificates as a way of easing lockdowns. It said there was no evidence that people who had developed antibodies after recovering from the virus were protected against a second infection. It warned that such a move could actually increase virus transmission. WHO added that people who assumed they were immune might stop taking precautions. Some governments have considered permitting people who have recovered to travel or return to work. Restrictions imposed on movement to stop the virus spreading have crippled economies around the world. More than 2.8 million cases of the virus have been confirmed worldwide, and nearly 200,000 people have died. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.